Okay, welcome guys. It's Tuesday night again. It's our Project Touch Worldwide call, and it's really fun tonight. Chris is going to be talking, Chris Bonnickson, who, well, Chris, you want to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about who you are and what you've been doing with the oils?
Sure. I'm Chris Bonnickson. I've been learning about the oils for probably about 6-8 months now. And because of my background, I tend to focus a lot on what the oils are actually made of and how that relates to what they're supposed to be doing for us. And so what I'm going to talk about here today is a little bit about what I've learned with regards to primarily the citrus oils. Because with spring, I just think of citrus because spring to me is a time of waking up and of restarting a lot of things and of gaining confidence for the new year. I'm not very good at New Year in January. To me, it's spring and fall. That's when my New Year's start, and that's when I get my resolutions. It's never January. One of the things that I did do before we get into some of the chemistry on this is I looked at what the citrus oils were from an emotional standpoint, and since that was sort of what we were looking at this month. And when I looked at what they are, they tend to be very personal and life-affirming oils. There's bergamot, which is the oil of self-acceptance. There's lime, which is the zest for life. There's wild orange, which is the oil of abundance. And so they're ones that allow you to feel like you are able to do your best. And that tends to be a common theme with the citruses, which I think is really apropos for moving into a period of new life, which is what spring is.
I love that. Let's before you get into all this chemistry, let's do one thing, okay? Let's for everybody who's listening to the call later on and even now, if you have a citrus oil close, like lemon, lime, bergamot, or anything like that, let's take a smell for a second, because I love the smell of the citrus oils. And this month is all about springing and getting into new things, right? And life, and getting into new ways of thinking and new ways of emotion. So I'm going to take a lemon, and so let's take an oil. This is what we always do on the 6 a.m. calls too, and I love it. So pick an oil, put it on your hands, put it on your forehead and your chest and your throat real quick, and just take a deep breath in and let that oil really deeply just go inside of you and be happy with all of that. So I love it. Okay, Chris, go for it. I'd love to hear more of the chemistry.
All right. When I started looking into the citruses, it turned out that all of them were very high in what are called monoterpene hydrocarbons, which to me means when you're looking at using them, that there's a little bit of adjustment you can do. If for some reason one of them isn't working for what you're looking for, then you can try another one. It may not be as exacting, but they're very related. And the monoterpene tend to consist of primarily a benzene ring, which is sort of a way, it's a sharing kind of molecule, because it's set up such that there are certain electrons that just run around between all the carbons in the ring. And so in many ways, it's in fact, the majority of the different compounds in the essential oils tend to have that, which I think is very apropos, considering oils move by sharing rather than simply by beating people over the head. They also tend to, because there are because of the way they're put together, they're highly volatile. So often in a blend, the first thing that you're going to smell is going to be the citrus. And it's often used in what's called a modifier, which means when you layer your blend, the citrus oil is going to be the one that kind of pulls it all together and modifies it to exactly what you want. Kind of opens you up. Because if you look at the things on the right, which are what the monoterpene hydrocarbons do, is they work on toxin elimination and working on getting rid of inflammation, protecting yourself. It's very much a connecting thing to take what you've got and make what your body's already doing work better. And that tends to be what the citruses are designed specifically for, especially when you talk about self-protection and toxin elimination and protecting against microbial attacks on your body. However, there's a lot of them that have other things. If you look at tangerine, that one is really, really heavy. If you look at it, it's over 98% just these hydrocarbon chains. And as a result, if you're looking for specific things that this type of a molecule does, then tangerine is a good one to go to. If you want something that's a little more blended as far as what you're looking for the oil, if you go to something like bergamot, where almost 30% of it is also esters, which in addition to being inflammation, is that it can actually help with fungal issues. And quite often you'll have multiple symptoms where there might be a bacterial infection that allows a fungus to grow in. And you might want to look at something that has a mixture. You can either do that with multiple oils, or you can look for one that has multiple types of compound internal to it. And a lot of times, there'll be lots of different traces, which is why citruses can be used as modifiers and enhancers to the basic effectiveness of other oils. And so that's sort of what's going on. So if for some reason you have someone that has a reaction to one of the citruses, they may not have another reaction to another one. And the fact that there is such a high commonality in the chemical compound of them means that some of the things where people will say to you, well, you just kind of try until it works. It's really you're trying to get the same compounds to work in the body, and the carrier and the way it works with the other things to get in there can be adjusted to each individual person's body chemistry. And I don't know about you, but there are ones that I like the smell of better. And so you can use that also. You don't have to use one that you cannot stand the smell of, because the others can be used in place of that if you're looking at recipes. So are there any questions on that I can answer for you before we move in to kind of the next sorts of things they can be used for?
Chris, I'm kind of curious about the different kind of, like lime and lemon, who are really closely related, right? Can you interchange them? Is there kind of a benefit, to lime that there's not to lemon, or vice versa? I honestly don't know the answer, but I don't know if you know it. Just curious about it.
Well, I will tell you that lime tends to be a little more variable in how much it has of the monoterpene in it. It can actually have a change of 15%. It just kind of, limes tend to be a lot more variable than lemons. So yes, you can interchange them, but you're going to have, if you're going from lemon to lime, it's going to probably take a little more adjusting to get the right input to have it be equivalent. And it has many more traces of different things that allow lime to be a little more enhancing to other compounds, because it's got traces of alcohols and oxidizers and that sort of thing in there.
Okay. Okay.
So now the next slides are just kind of here to say, this is the way, because even though they have the basic chemical structure, each one of those molecules is going to have unique aspects to it as it gets grown in the various plants. And so I pulled these out of the standard website just so that we could kind of look at it and go, okay, how do we use the different ones and what is it used for? And so if anybody has anything that they've used some of these for, I would be glad to get your input on that. So bergamot tends to, because of the fact that it has more than one of these chemical compounds into it, works really well with dealing with imperfections in the skin, because skin is a very complicated activity. And so sometimes you need to address more than one aspect in order to get it fully clear. Anybody else have any things that they've potentially used bergamot for, or have heard someone do that?
Yes. So today I've been talking about sleep a lot, as part of my class. And so bergamot is actually really good for sleep. It's very good for calming and everything. And so actually, I use that a lot instead of lavender. Lavender's not my favorite smell. And actually, I blended the two together. I put bergamot with lavender, and it smells pretty nice. But bergamot is really good at calming. And so I'll oftentimes diffuse that at nighttime for bed.
I also love the taste of it.
Yes.
Ooh, yes, it does.
You like it?
Yeah, I really do like the taste of it. Like in a little bit of water, I love the taste of it. Yeah, for cleansing. That's how I use it. But yeah.
Great. Both of those are things that help get rid of, those are things that help get rid of things that are making your body uncomfortable with itself. And in many ways, that's kind of the thing behind bergamot.
Yeah, and
great.
Really quickly, I don't know if you can pull it back or not, but I love the combination there. It says made to make an essential oils mojo or something. It was, thank you. It said 3 drops of lime, 1 drop of bergamot, and 1 drop of peppermint. I want to try that in water. And I want to, because lately I've been liking the I don't know, maybe with the warmth coming up, I always love to use, I used to love lemonade, and I always used to drink it, and it's not good, right? We all know it's not good to drink, but I used to use it a lot. And nowadays I love these oils, and that seems like a really cool one. So I'm going to try it out. So I'm going to remember it.
Yeah, that one actually does taste really good. I
wonderful.
can testify to that one.
Yeah, the mint with citruses. Yes, Megan, sorry, I overtalked you.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just saying that, yes, that, like the mojito thing, it tastes really good. I do a lot of like different combinations of citrus oils and peppermint stuff in my morning smoothies. And I tried that one actually one time. I think I might have added lemon as well. But it was really good. So I think you'd like that. Anyway, sorry, continue.
No, that's good, because sometimes they put together these blends and say, yeah, drink these, and they are less than tasty.
True. Well, this one's tried and true.
Well, good. Grapefruit tends to be very heavy into the monoterpene. So if you look at what it says, some of the benefits it has, we're trying to lose weight and appearance of blemishes. You go back to what the compounds do in removing toxins and helping cell protection and soothing irritated tissues. You can see why this is recommended for these kinds of uses. And one of the things that I find really interesting is that it shows here a cleaner that you can make that actually will cut through kind of the built-on gunk that gets onto everything. So grapefruit was the first oil that I was actually introduced to, and I found it actually very refreshing to have around. Anybody used grapefruit for anything that they would like to share?
In my water. I love grapefruit. It's one of my very favorite oils. Me and Colin, we use bottles of that almost every month. So that's almost a regular in our LRP every month. Like we each have to have our own bottle. So usually what I like to do is about probably like even 2 or 3 drops of grapefruit in my water almost every time I drink a glass of water, just because it tastes really good and it smells amazing. I have used it definitely for just helping with like appetite management stuff. That is one of the main ingredients in Slim and Sassy. So it's right in there with like the cinnamon and the peppermint and stuff. So grapefruit's really good for that. And actually I have used it as part of my skincare routine, and it does help with complexion. Just because of course it does have that detoxifying effect and cleaning out, you know, your body. And so making it ideal very much for skincare.
Great, thank you. You hear a lot about other oils and use for skincare, but sometimes these get overlooked. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I would add just with the citrus oils, if you are putting them on your skin, of course, avoid sunlight just because they are photosensitive.
All right, lemon. I really like lemon. I've liked it for years. You know, it's one of those things where when you buy your dishwasher soap, I always get the lemon scented one because to me it smells really clean. And if you look at it, it says it supports healthy respiratory function, which to me says it's a way of opening up your sinuses and everything. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm the person who eats when they give me water with lemon, I eat the lemon first before drinking the water. And so it's very much of a cleansing lemon. And if you look at the kinds of things that this does, you know, it can work as an antiseptic. It works as against microbes and those sorts of things, the compounds in lemon. And lemon is very high in those, which is why these are the key things that the benefits are recommended by here. And anybody who's tried to get sticky tape residue off of something really knows that lemon will help with that. Anything anybody would like to share with regards to lemon? All right, lime. This is the one that I actually carry around with me is lime. Partly because I just love the smell of it. But lime has lots of trace elements in it, which I think is why when you smell it and you use it as an aromatic, it tends to hit lots of different parts of both the sensory receptors in your nose and your mouth, because it's got so many different things in there. And it's very good at supporting other things. If you look at that internal cleanse part, I believe a lot of that has to do with the fact that there are very few of the types of compounds that make up essential oils that do not have at least a trace of them in lime. So you have the main piece that comes out in the monoterpenes, and then it has lots and lots of other things in there, which means that it can hit all of the things that might be breaking into your body and trying to hurt your cellular support. I don't have anything else there. Has somebody else used lime to actually do something? That sounds really bad. Like I haven't used it to do anything, but anything else?
I just put it in my water mostly, you know, and same with lemon. I was going to say the same thing. I just put it in my water all the time and in my smoothies just because it, number one, tastes good, but because, yeah, just like the other ones, it really is good at helping to clean out your system and detoxify, and it just smells and tastes good. So, I mean, really, it's a win all around.
Yeah, I love it too.
Well, yeah, one of the things that if you look at here where it says add a drop to your cleanser or shampoo, if you're using one of the other citruses to do that, sometimes, especially for skin, using the same thing over and over can make it a little sensitive. And here's something that you might be able to use to adjust a little bit so that things start working again. If you look at anything where you're continually attacking stuff with the same compounds and the same activities, then sometimes it will begin to lose a little bit less effectiveness. And so if you switch between some of these citruses, you can maintain the overall effectiveness of what you're looking for.
I think that's a great idea. By the way, we have some new people popping on. I do mute most of you guys as you're popping on just because of some background noise. But at the bottom of your screen on the left side, whether you're on the phone or whether you're on the computer, you can unmute yourself at any time. Okay, guys, if you guys want to respond to anything that Chris has to say. So I just want to pop that in.
All right. Tangerine, you know, we talked about that a little bit at the very beginning about how high it is in the primary compound that we've been talking about. But I will tell you, tangerine is not my favorite, but because it is has such a high percentage of this toxin and protective and reinvigorating activities, it can be very, very useful. And in some ways, if you're looking at something to replace lemon with for a little while or that sort of thing, I would probably look first at tangerine because the chemical composition is probably one of the most similar for the basic underlying structures of the compound. Anyone have anything that they would like to add with what they might have used tangerine for, other than, as it says here, making really good flavored cakes?
I think it's the oil of cheer and creativity. You put that down there too, Chris. And I use it for that. It's for me, it's an emotional support. And I remember when it was out first, it was hard to get. and I love the tangerine oil. So I use it for mood. The same thing with wild orange, which I think is kind of similar. It's kind of compound, but I love the smell for mood enhancement especially. So.
Actually, that's really good. I'm not real strong on the mood part of this, but I don't know of many of us that don't need a little more cheer and creativity in our lives. Wild orange. This tends to be one that a lot of people like and a lot of people use. The first time I heard about wild orange, I was told that this was the poor man's frankincense. And if you look at this, it's very similar to the kinds of things you'll see there, where it talks about immune support, cleaning surfaces, energizing. You know, it tends to be one of those kind of nice all-around oils because it's very, very good at your toxin elimination, cleaning, getting rid of all of those little nasty bugs that you want to, which is part of why it's in here. And from an emotional activity, eating the oil of abundance can add something to you. What I would put to you is quite often people think of abundance as material abundance. And I think if we open up our meaning of abundance a little bit to things like spiritual abundance or abundance of love or abundance of friendship, then I think that that wild orange will become much more useful to us even from an emotional support viewpoint. I know that there are people that are much more familiar with wild orange. Is there something that you would like to share?
I'll just say one thing. I'd love to have some other people too. In Africa, it's completely adored. I had somebody today that I actually ran into that didn't like it, and that was the first person. I told her, you're the first person who doesn't like wild orange. She loved peas, so it wasn't like she didn't like the oils, but she didn't like wild orange, and that I've never heard, because almost everybody I know loves it, and especially in the Cape Verde Islands. I mean, people would just die for it almost. I don't know why. Maybe of the climate or anything like that, but they loved it. It was interesting to me.
Well, I see that smell thing is, I found it really interesting because my mother, who is exceptionally smell sensitive, and 98% of the smells she can't handle, said, "Oh, I really like the wild orange. It reminds me of the Christmas oranges we used to get as a child." And so she will actually use this to diffuse, and she will not diffuse 98% of the other oil.
All right.
Yeah, wild orange is one of my absolute favorites. I have to agree with that. And it's like I hoard bottles of wild orange. Like I have tons of those little bottles just around my house, and I carry them with me everywhere. It is like probably one of my favorite oils. And if, aside from arborvitae, of course, right? And then just like one more thing to add on to what you can do with wild orange, like it really is poor man's frankincense. I actually used it for stomach upset for a friend on the plane, like when I was coming back from the Middle East. I think I've shared the story like probably a million times now, but the girl next to me from Nepal, like she didn't speak much English, but she started just like hurling into her sack, just like had a rough landing. And so she wasn't doing so well. And I was out of Digesta, and I had my little, cool keychain pouch of oils on hand and at the ready. But I was out of digestion because I'd already used it myself. But I had wild orange there, and the thought just popped into my head to go ahead and use that. And so I threw a couple drops in her palms. I just kind of gestured. I was like, here, rub your palms together and smell. And she started doing that, and her stomach was able to calm down. And it was actually pretty fast too. So it's a pretty neat, and it's a really diverse oil.
So thank you, Megan. Now, that's sort of all I had put together really for talking about the citruses. But one of the things that I wanted to tell you is when you're looking at blends, quite often if your taste or your smell likes things together, like I grew up with lemonade and limeade where we would put a little bit of mint across the top of it. And I went and looked at what was happening with that. And it turns out that the mints have a very different basis for their compound structure than the citruses do. And so if you put something like lemon and spearmint together, then you have, if you look at it, the lemon has the ability to remove the toxins, and the spearmint can come in and help with the regeneration of the cells that have been damaged by those toxins and help with that healing. And so when some of these blends that we talk about, if you look at the underlying chemistry, you start understanding why they work. And so my suggestion to you is that since it is springtime and we have a little bit of time to play before we hit the heat of summer, look and see whether or not there is a citrus mint, lemonade, limonade, orangeade that you might like to have around to help keep your body free and healthy and happy with something that's really nice to drink for the remainder of the summer. That's what I've got for you. So we can talk about any of this, or you can go off and think about it and send in some questions, and we'll see what we can do to find answers for you.
Awesome, Chris. I love it. These are, and they're spearmint. Oh my goodness. I know it's Colin's favorite. He makes an awesome lemonade with that on.
It tastes really good. He does an awesome job with that. And yes, awesome call, Chris. This is really cool. Good information here.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that one, what Megan says. This is, by the way, I didn't know spearmint was the oil of confidence speech. So that is an awesome one to end with as well. And you're perfect on timing too, it's 7:30. Before we end, I mean, truly, this was a great call, and you've given a lot of scientific and ideas on how to think a little bit different about these citruses and the mint. as well, but especially the citruses. So I love that. Really, really nicely done. Very nicely done, I should say. Anybody has any other questions before we end? And we are going to stay on for our business meeting, so I'd love for you guys to stay on for a little bit. But anything for Chris that you guys want to say? And now's your chance.
So I actually have a quick question, you know, and I'm not sure if there is an answer for it. I mean, I know there is an answer. I'm just not sure if the information's available. I was wondering, do we know where tangerine and lemon are sourced from, and also bergamot? Because I didn't notice a sourcing origin for those oils. I thought the lemon might come from Italy, but I wasn't sure.
I don't have that information. It is available on the basic website. What I can do is I can go find the primary source for each of these and send them out so that it can be put onto Facebook.
Oh, it's okay either way. I was just curious because I noticed that like lime comes from Brazil, and I love knowing where the oils come from. I always think that's really cool. So yeah.
It's a way of traveling the world without having to leave your house.
Exactly. You just open your bottle of oil and you're there.
Yeah, so let's go there. And you're right. Lemon does come from Italy. Bergamot, I'm not sure. Actually, I would have to look that up too. But probably an interesting one to look up. I'd love to hear that information. So, yeah. Okay, well, let me end this.
Bergamot is also Italy.
Which one?
Oh, okay. Bergamot.
Bergamot is also Italy.
Cool. Awesome.
Grapefruit is the U.S.
Okay. How about
lime is Mexico?
Lime is Mexico. Oh,
I thought it was Brazil. I thought the little infographic said Brazil.
That's possible.
Okay. Maybe it's both.
Yeah. And wild orange, actually, one of the locations that comes from is the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Cool.
I knew that. Cool. Well, that is all over the world.
Yeah.
And tangerine, also, one of its locations is from the U.S.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's nice. A little more information about that. Okay, I'm going to stop this recording, and then we'll get out for a second, and then I think we don't have to get out, actually. Let me just stop the recording, and then we'll go from there to our business meeting. But thank you so much, Chris. This was awesome. I'll definitely vote for you to do one again because this is very thorough, and I loved it. So thanks so much, dear. And
sure, just let me know, and I will do this again.
Awesome. Okay.